Hi, I'm Jim Pence, and this is another in our series of 6 more super short art tips. I work with pastels a lot, and if you've ever seen any of my other videos where I'm talking about working with pastels, I will always mention that it's good to work on toned paper. Pastels, just as a rule, will show up brighter, and they just tend to grab the eye more if the paper actually has a color or a tone to it. And if you go into an art store, you'll find paper sold by the sheet that is all, there are all different colors. Or you can buy a pad of pastel paper, and that's what I've got right here. And these different sheets, these are all different colors from the same pad, and this particular pad has about 4 or 5 sheets each of each color. I encourage you to try working on toned paper, and particularly on pastel paper, because it is a little heavier. It's got a nice tooth to it that'll hold the pastel or the chalk that you're working with. And it's just a lot more fun to work on and to experiment and see how the colors show up on different backgrounds. So, having said that, what if you don't have access to an art store right away and you still want to work on some toned paper? Well, if you have some watercolor paper or some even just plain white copy paper, although that's not as good for pastels because it doesn't, it's a bit too smooth, but if that's all you've got, you can work with it. Now this is actually a sheet of pastel paper. It's a white sheet from that same pad that I just showed you. But we're going to show you how today to tone your own paper. And one of the nice things about toning your own paper is you can create different kinds of effects that you're not going to normally find available in just a straight sheet of paper. Most paper is going to be a flat color one way or the other. But what if you wanted to be creative and do maybe a sunburst type effect? Well, you can tone your paper by using different colored pastels. Now, when I work with pastels and I'm trying to cover a large area, I'm going to show you with a little darker piece of pastel so it will show up better. Whenever I'm covering a large area, I will use the corner of the pastel, not the flat edge. Because if I use the flat edge, and I think I'm going to work on maybe a different sheet of paper here, because I don't want to put dark color in the center of the paper. This is an old piece. So see, if I'm using the edge, the corner, I get a nice coverage. But if I go with a flat edge, watch what happens. Okay, working on the flat, because the surface is not completely smooth, or it's there are ridges that you can't see. I don't know how you would describe it, but you don't get as good a coverage as you do if you just use the corner of the pastel and go straight across. You can get a lot better look to it. That's the one I just did. Sorry, that was off camera. My monitor is not where I can see it. I've got to work on that. So anyway, let's tone a sheet of paper. This is again pastel paper. Let me put the rough side up. There's usually, instantly with pastel paper, you'll usually find a rough side and a not really smooth but not so rough. So you can work on either side, but I like to work with the side that has the most tooth. What if we wanted to do a sunburst effect here? Okay, so I'm going to come into the center and lay in some pretty bright yellow chalk. Okay, and then I'm going to come, and this is sort of a yellow-orange. I'm going to come around here, do that, and I'm going to go with more of a pumpkin orange, a little darker. Okay, and then a reddish orange. And this is actually more of a rust color. And let me finish it up with a bit of brown just to finish off the outside edges of the paper. Now when you're ready to blend, want to make sure your fingers are clean because you don't want to particularly mess up your bright colors. So my fingers are dirty. Wipe your fingers, get them at least reasonably clean. If possible, go wash your hands. But if you don't have the opportunity to go wash your hands, then at least wipe them on a cloth or whatever. Okay, I'm going to come into the center here, and I'm actually, as a chalk artist, I use my fingers a lot in blending. And what you want to do is you want to go from the lightest color out to the darkest. I'm just going to keep working around with my finger. Remember, all I'm doing here is creating a background to draw on. This isn't the drawing. This is kind of preparing the surface. And when I get further out here, I don't worry quite so much about getting dark in where it's lighter, because the values are getting darker out here. But when I get to the bigger areas, most of the time I'm going to shift my to the heel of my palm, and I will work with that to finish off the blending. I may need to turn the paper around. Incidentally, if you are doing this with a lightweight paper, like copy paper or whatever, then you're going to want to tape the paper down because it's going to tear on you otherwise. Okay, so my hands are really dirty at this point, so I have to be really careful about coming back in and touching too much. But if you want to smooth it out a little bit more, you can take a tool like this, which is just a piece of foam. Now you got to be real careful when you use kind of a foam eraser, because it will tend to lift the chalk off. Almost any kind of eraser is going to remove some of the chalk with the pastel. So, but once find a clean spot on my finger here. Once I have it smoothed to my satisfaction, then what I will usually try to do is I will spray it very lightly with a fixative, just so that when I lay in the chalk that I'm going to draw with, that it won't blend or mix in with the background. And then you know, I can come in and have some fun drawing a dark mountain, kind of, it's up against a setting sun, or you know, you can do any number of things, and you know, have some real fun with this. So that's how to tone your own paper. Again, you can use a little fixative or a little hairspray. If you use hairspray, I get the cheapest kind I can get. I get a water-based hairspray, and it will actually do a fairly decent job as a fixative. And I'm just throwing some stuff in here just to have a little fun with the mountains. And I'm not going to keep going on that one, but you get the point. You can tone your paper, and it gives you at least a different kind of a surface to work on. It's also fun to, like I said, try different color backgrounds and see how the different colors of chalk, like take that same blue, put it on another color background or on a white background, see how it shows up. It's a good lesson in learning how to work with color, and particularly with pastels. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back next time with more art tips from See the Light.
I see the